What's going on, Omnibuddies? Mitch here, and today we're going to do a top 5 of my favorite publisher. Alright, so well, you can see I'm set up a little bit different because I'm talking about my favorite publisher today. We're talking about Magnetic Press. They are a super cool indie publisher, and as of the making of this video, it's actually the 10th anniversary of the founding of Magnetic Press. So with that, I have fallen in love with this publisher, so much so that, you know, being straightforward and honest, like I do some side work with Magnetic now, but I would only work with a publisher that I actually love what they publish. And that is why I have partnered with Magnetic to help doing some stuff on the side with them. But all things fair, I love this publisher, and so I wanted to bring my top 5 books from Magnetic Press. Alright, so when I went to make this video and grab all my books and put them together, so I have my Magnetic shelf here, and then I have a whole heap of books that I actually have upstairs right now because I have no idea where I'm going to actually be storing them. But I decided, hey, I should count up how many Magnetic titles I actually have. I've actually read some other ones digitally too, but I have 50 Magnetic books exactly, which is kind of crazy to me. I did not realize it was that many books, but you know what? When you love a publisher, here we are. All right, so I'm going to give you my top 5, and you know what? At the end, I'm going to give a couple honorary mentions because you know what? What's a top 10, top 5 list without honorary mentions, if we're being honest here. So, all right, I'm going to start at the bottom of the list, which is still top 5, so it's great. But I'm going to start at the bottom of the list. So number 5, we are actually looking at Monkey King. And you know what? It's 2 books in one, so if I had to pick one, it would be Volume 1 because I loved Volume 1 a lot. Volume 2, great, but Volume 1 really sets up the character of the Monkey King. And man, this is by Chiako, and this does follow the like very traditional Journey to the East storyline with the Monkey King and all the like characters with it, which I've never actually like read the actual original kind of story to it. I know a ton of stories and manga and anime and Western stories are all based on the Monkey King. But this story by Chiako is just amazing. And I do have an overview on this book or books. But dang, is this story cool. Not only is it a great story, but the art in it is just absolutely phenomenal. It's super pretty to look at because there's like a lot of watercolor going on with it. And I gotta say, like the slipcase is absolutely beautiful. I mean, Magnetic does some of the most gorgeous published editions there are out there. They got those signature rounded corners on the hardcovers, tons of foil accents, and just like this linen feel to it. You can kind of hear it a little bit, but dang, is this book gorgeous inside and out, and is the story super cool. I really hope that the story is continued and Chiako does, you know, maybe like a volume 3 and 4 of this, because it would just be phenomenal. I mean, it does end, but it could continue, which is super cool way of doing stories. So that is number 5. Now we are going to look at number 4. We are looking at, if I can get it out here, we're looking at Tezukami. So this is Artists of the World pay tribute to the works of Osamu Tezuka. And you know what, this is again 2 books in one for the slipcase. If I had to pick one, it's going to be, I guess it's a manga, so it's going to show up better that way. It's going to be volume 2, actually, because what's super cool about this is that in Tezukami, these are mostly the European writers collected in this. I know there's a bunch of other creators that did a bunch of works. I think this is about half-ish of the original Tezukami books out there, but this is mostly the collection of the European creators out there. And what's cool about this is like each story is like doing an like homage to Tezuka, and they take his characters and kind of who they are as characters and some general and like some stories that really are representative of those characters, and really pay tribute really well in a bunch of short story like vignette pieces in these. But what's super cool at the end, so that you get a whole bunch of different storytelling styles, and you get a whole bunch of different art styles in it, which is super cool. But what's awesome in this is at the end of volume 2, and this is why I'm picking volume 2 of this series, is that they do like a giant team up with a bunch, if not most, if not a bunch of the characters that are in volumes 1 and 2, and they do the super cool team up story, and it's just so fun and just so well done. Because I was, when I went to read it, I was not expecting a team up of all these short stories with all these different characters, and I was like, oh, it's going to be kind of cheesy, but dang, was it fun, and it was super cool. And again, I'm going to be saying this every time, the publishing on this, like the actual creation of the books, like you can see that silver gilding on these pages. Monkey King also had gilding on there. They all have like ribbon bookmarks built in, and these slip cases with like the foil on there. It's just so nice and so pretty. So that is actually number 4. So we are going now into, and this is where it gets really difficult for me, because depending on how you feel, like with movies for me, like depending on how I feel, my favorite movie could switch, at any point in my life or time, like how I'm feeling that day, my top 3 or 4 movies could kind of like switch around if you ask me. So it's getting real nitpicky, but for my number 3 book out there, I think I'm on number 3. Yes. Number 3 book out there. I'm going to go with, man, even right now filming this video is kind of killing me trying to decide this, but I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to go with my gut. I'm going to go with Frontier, which just came out. One of my latest videos, I think it's 2 videos prior to this. If you look chronologically on my channel, that dropped. Frontier just came out. And dang, is this slipcase edition. So the slipcase editions that you're seeing here are all like Kickstarter exclusive, so they're going to be very hard to find. You can find a lot of the hardcovers out there without the slipcases. They might not have the gilding or sewn in ribbon bookmarks or anything like that, but you can find really, really gorgeous trade paperbacks, which I'm normally not into trade paperbacks, but dang, super well done trade paperbacks with rounded corners on them and everything. Really premium quality. But I go for these slipcase editions. So Frontier is just so good. And I love this bright yellow that we got going on here. But it's also got silver gilding. Not all of them have silver gilding. Some of them have blue. I think Black Box has blue gilding on it. But it does have that foil on there on both sides, and the spine, and a nice silver ribbon bookmark. But this, man, the end sheets in these books. Most of the books have great end sheets in them. I really love these schematic 3D cutaway type end sheets. But this book is really cool in that the chibi art style is just absolutely adorable and really well done. But the story itself is one of, and I called it in my overview that I did on it, the best sci-fi book I've read in 2024, and could be one of the best sci-fi books I've ever read. It is absolutely beautifully well told, beautifully illustrated, beautifully published. One of the coolest stories out there, with like 3 different characters all dealing with being at different points in their lives, dealing with space travel, feeling trapped, and like corporations trying to get all of the different resources around the galaxy and, you know, just like a space race for resources, but it's controlled by corporations, which is crazy, but really not that far out there. But it is sci-fi, and it is really well told, and there's cuteness and deep characters, beautiful art. It is all over the universe in the worlds they travel to, and they're all over in space, and space stations are so well lived and illustrated. There is more detail in these illustrations on this page than you will see in most any comic out there, any graphic novel out there. It is insanely well detailed and really, really well told. And the science is actually pretty cool in there too. So that is my number 3. And it could be like my number 2, maybe number 1 book. But what it doesn't have is Frankenstein. And I gotta say, so this is Bram Stoker's and Mary Shelley's Dracula and Frankenstein, kind of co-opted by Georges Bess and illustrated by him also. But dang, is this one of the coolest stories I've read. So Dracula is great. I loved the Dracula story. Really good. And everyone gives Dracula like, oh, Dracula, it's awesome. He's super cool and all this. He is, but Frankenstein in this book, oh, I got my signed and numbered card in there. So, whoop, there it goes. So Frankenstein is just absolutely deep when it comes to like philosophy and just telling life stories. And wow, I was just blown away reading this book. It stuck with me more than most any other book out there. But wow, was it just, you just felt for Frankenstein's monster, because Frankenstein is, you know, Dr. Frankenstein. But you just feel horrible for him and the like predicament that he's put in as this like being, and you know, what is life and what's our responsibilities as creators and as people, and you know, when has science gone too far, and you know, are you the created, are you the creator, should you be doing any of that stuff? Really deep philosophical issues in here. And then Bess's art is just some of the coolest, most well done. I mean, it's detailed, not as detailed as like Frontier or anything like that, but I mean, you see some of the detail on there with the snow, and then you go and it's just juxtaposed with these like super simple illustrations too. And he does these really thick, like deep black lines, and there's some spots in here where he does a lot of like negative space where the whole page is like nearly or all completely black, and only like an individual person or a couple little pieces are what's highlighted in, you know, white. I mean, this, not exactly what I'm talking about, but there, you know, a lot of negative space like with that. But wow, is this story so good. It was one of my absolute favorites I've read from Magnetic Press, which is why it's my number 2. And on top of that, trying to get that card out here. This is the signed numbered, or yeah, the numbered edition, not signed. But on top of it, which is cool, this was one of the first books that I got to help work on and give advice to when I came on to work a little bit with Magnetic. And we had decided to, you know what, let's go against the grain, because everyone makes Dracula and these horror books black and just dark and, you know, foreboding. But let's make the whole thing, the slipcase, bright white, so it just like really stands out and is just super clean and just different and interesting looking. And I think it really works, like the blood red foil for Dracula, which is most of the stuff on here is all the, you know, matching blood red. But Frankenstein's got that green on here, that sickly green. but dang. And what's super cool is there is a coffin cutout on this slipcase, and Dracula sticks out of there. So very, very cool design, and I'm very proud of it, what we came up with for this. And what's even cooler is that this book, or this design for the slipcase edition, won an Eisner Award this year. So that's pretty freaking awesome. So very proud of these books. But Frankenstein, if you are looking for a deeply philosophical and emotional story, Frankenstein by Georges Best is phenomenal. If you can find the double slipcase edition, Best actually surprised everyone and came out with a Hunchback of Notre Dame version of this too. So now there is a slipcase with all 3 books coming out that'll be like nearly identical, just for 3 books, with Hunchback. And I think it's gonna be an orangish look, if I remember correctly. But man, I'm really excited to get that triple slipcase, but I'm always keeping this guy because I'm pretty dang proud of it, and I absolutely love it, and it is a gorgeous edition. So that is my number 2 story, my number 2 book by Magnetic Press. You can kind of see what we're doing here. We're working our way down this series. So number 1, my top book from Magnetic Press that I love, and it has stuck with me for the past couple years since I've read it, is, and it's in a slipcase edition, but it's only one of them. We are looking at Carbon and Silicon by Matthew Bablett. And wow, is this an interesting, again, deeply philosophical, and deals with all like technology and what it is to be human. And it's actually gotten more pertinent, more relevant to life now in the past year or so, with the advent of all this AI stuff, with ChatGPT, with AI art and all of that, because this whole thing is dealing with like Frankenstein, people creating beings, and this is like what happens when you create true artificial intelligence, and what happens when we use our technology to keep ourselves alive, and when we are becoming so robotic and we're being kept alive by machines, and machines implanted in us and keeping us alive. And then when AI is designed and built as machines, and they are slowly over the years, decades, millennia, becoming more human with flesh and blood, with AI brains. And where does that barrier cross when they are basically more human than humans are when they're trying to keep themselves alive, is really interesting, dives into a whole bunch of stuff, and it goes through a ton of time over the whole course. But yeah, Bablett's art is just, let's see if I can find something here without the thing. So I mean, his art is just gorgeous too. He's one of my absolute favorite artists, actually. And this book definitely pushed him up there. You can see this has that gold gilding Kickstarter edition, which obviously is just absolutely beautiful in this slipcase here, with Shangri-La, which is also a brilliant story and super cool, and I loved it. Not near the amount that I loved Carbon and Silicon, but dang, was that a good story too. So if you can find the slipcase edition, great, that's wonderful. Pretty hard to find these slipcases, but the trade paperbacks and hardcovers and all that you can find around. Yeah, and again, if you're looking for a lot of these, you can go on Magnetic Press's website and get some of them. You can use the code in my description. That'll get you 20% off your first order. Helps my channel out, supports Magnetic, which is an unbelievable publisher, and I would say that whether I worked with them or not. Yeah, but Carbon and Silicon, my absolute top book from Magnetic Press. It hits all the right notes with gorgeous art and all of that. So like I said at the beginning, I was going to do a couple, two, three honorable mentions. And one of those honorable mentions is going to be the Midnight Order, which, I mean, come on, look at this book. And the coin, Magnetic Press does a bunch of challenge coins with all the Kickstarters and backer kits. Most books get a challenge coin. This one, we decided to embed it. So it actually does pop out, but it embeds into the case, which is super cool. But I mean, look at this thing. Wow. This thing is just a insane, like, foil vomit, gorgeous book in here. And I mean, then you see the actual book, and dang. And this is also by Matthew Beblett. So he kind of oversaw it and then had a whole host of creators help tell the story. And this is kind of like a story of like a secret occult, witch occult that is working to keep the world safe from evil, but also has to, you know, do they become more evil than the evil that they're fighting? And it dives into some interesting topics too. Really cool book. And I gotta say, the gilding on the edges, so it's not foil, it's painted, and it is super cool. So that is my first honorable mention because it was super cool. Fun story. Bablett's one of my favorite creators out there right now, and this was a super cool book. So my second honorable mention is going to be what was it going to be? What was it going to be? Oh, it was Dracula. So, like I said, I absolutely love that book too. I talked about it a bunch with Frankenstein, but Dracula, super interesting, and it's all Dracula and Frankenstein were both all based off of the original novels that the writers wrote. And what's cool about the Dracula one is it includes a short story that was kind of written but wasn't included in like the first edition novels or anything, or like the continued novels. So it has some extra stuff that was officially part of Dracula, but wasn't and isn't included in a lot of things. So Bess went and included it, and it's super cool, super fun. So definitely a great story, and carries that same art style and beautiful storytelling, but it's more of a horror base. I mean, Frankenstein has some horror elements too, but less horror, but it's more philosophy, and, you know, kind of has some body horror with, you know, the monster and all that. But Dracula is more of a horror story, and definitely interesting, really cool, hits all the right notes, but and I know a lot of people absolutely loved Dracula more than Frankenstein, which, you know what, everyone's got something that floats their boat more than others. And for me, Frankenstein just resonated with me super well in comparison to Dracula, even though Dracula was super cool. My third and last honorable mention is going to have to be the Black Box Chronicles, which this one is also a really great sci-fi book, super cool. And this slipcase edition has like a magnetic, oh, interesting, magnetic flap on here. And it's got 2 books inside, which is super cool. I actually swapped out one of the books. I don't know why I swapped that book out. Anyways, so you have, I have both of them in here. That's why. So there's one in the slipcase is an art book, which I don't have in here because I swapped it out for both of the trade paperback version and the hardcover version here. So hardcover version has a cover by David Mack, which is super cool. And then we got Sean on here, who did this crazy poster of a bunch of the characters in here. Absolutely gorgeous. And mine is got a bunch of signatures on him because I actually got to go over and meet him in Hawaii. And yeah, so super cool guy, which I did a little creator interview with him too. So if you want to see that, definitely check out my channel. But this is also a good shot of like these premium quality trade paperbacks, like super heavy, thick paper, beautiful, beautiful books. Really great paper. Like these, like honestly, they are some of the best quality trade paperbacks that are out there. No joke. And those curved corners on them, super cool. So this, anyways, Black Box Chronicles is, oh, there went the signed card on there. So, but Black Box Chronicles this is actually an anthology, which I'm not normally into anthology books and stories, but this one was super well done, and really did a good job setting up a cohesive universe that lays the foundation for what's coming up next from Black Box Chronicles with the Black Box Chronicles. This was in partnership with Horrible Futures and Magnetic Press. And I know that there is a lot more coming out with Black Box Chronicles, and it is really interesting. It's really hard to describe. I always want to say like Black Mirror and The Expanse with a little bit of Altered Carbon, and yeah, so it's really interesting with it, and it's really cool because it deals with death and what happens after death, and after we've explored the universe and explored the final frontier of space and sciences, and now the only thing left to discover is death. Like death, what happens after death is the final frontier. And so the black boxes collect your memories, your final memories, your soul, maybe like trying to preserve it. What happens if it is preserved in these? And so there is a guy that is in the beginning of this book that he is going to be explored a lot more. I know that. But he is collecting black boxes. He's kind of a keeper and collector of them because he feels responsible for them. So really interesting book. Again, deeply philosophical and interesting in what is out there and exploring that. But man, there are a ton of really cool books out there with Magnetic exploring like steampunk with Daryl, open world, post-apocalyptic with like The Wall and Ashes, like cool stuff like the Toppy books. I only have, what do I have, 2 or 3 of them, but there's like 12 or 13 with more coming. And then there's like Hercules, like really cool stuff. There's silent books with Sea of Love where there's no words or text in there. It's all just pictures. And so Sea of Love is super cool, just well illustrated. There's just all kinds of genres within Magnetic, but it's all gorgeous stuff, well told stories, interesting issues, different discussions on politics, religion, science, mysticism, all of it. It's really interesting. And what's cool is it's also a lot of like all ages. So there's like whole genres of like wordless books that are just pictures that really tell stories through illustration. So young readers can get those. And then there's like young adult, young reader, up to like adult and very mature. And so there's the broad gambit, but what they all have is they're all really well done books in their own right. And most all of them are all books that are brought over from mostly the European market. So a lot of French, Spanish, some German, I think, books that are translated to English for the first time and brought over and just published in gorgeous editions, and like just to bring really cool stories to the English speaking market that don't that we normally wouldn't get. So I can really appreciate that. And I love the fact that almost all of these, I mean, there's a couple like continuation books and things in here. Ogre Gods is a 4-part series. There's a couple things like that that are longer, but for the most part, they're just like, here it is. It's a self-contained story. Here's these 3 volumes. Here's Carbon and Silicon. And they're all just read it and that's it. And you don't need a whole bunch of canon history or anything like that. You just get what you get and you're in and out and you're done with the story. But a lot of the stories, once you're done with them, they're not done with you. So that's it. Those are my top 5 with my 3 honorable mentions. Hope that helped. I want to do some more of these with some other publishers too that I absolutely love, like Dark Horse. And oh man, Dark Horse is going to be a real hard one to pick top 5, but I'll try it. Anyways, that's it. I'll let you go. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notification if you're enjoying videos like this. Top 5s, I do a ton of overviews, even unboxings. Hit me up on all the social medias, Instagram. I'm always on Instagram. Love it. TikTok, Twitter X, whatever, Facebook, all those things. Hit me up there. But yeah, subscribe if you want more of this content, and don't forget to comment. I love talking with you all about what you're reading, what you're selling, what you're buying, what you're interested in. So let me know in the comments what your favorite small publisher is and what your favorite book from that small publisher is. And that way we can all explore some other books out there besides some of the like big popular readily available and always talked about books. So all right, that's it. Take care. Stay cool.